Welcome to the Lovestead.
Hello, welcome back to Lady Lovestead Reads. My name is Jessica, and this is my nonfiction November vlog. So every November, BookTube likes to focus on reading nonfiction. And I don't know, excuse my birds, they're noisy, but I don't know if this is something that's like formally hosted by someone, or if it's just like a thing BookTube does. So if it is formally hosted by someone, let me know who's actually the host of it down below so that I can give them credit. But for Nonfiction November this week, the book that I have started reading is the one that's hot right now, I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. So this is a memoir, and it is about Jeanette who... Thank you. Jeanette, who is a child actor, and she played Carly on iCarly. Now, I never watched iCarly. I was a little too old for this. Like, I had aged out of Disney by the time it was on, but I know my younger brother liked it. So it's about her experience with her family, her experience as a young actress, and from what I have heard from folks, her experience with an eating disorder. I am about 28 pages in. 28 pages in and already just absolutely loving this. She can write. Girlfriend can write. Her writing is just so good. And the way that she's describing her family dynamics, like, it feels real. Like, it feels very real. And wow. You know, check your trigger warnings before you read anything that I talk about, because I usually read a lot of dark and twisted stuff. So that's always a thing that I warn people of. But so far, this one is talking about family dynamics where I'm pretty sure one of these parents has a personality disorder, or maybe even both of them has a personality disorder. And then they are Mormon, and some of the dysfunction that happens among the Mormon faith. Nothing wrong if you're a Mormon, but there are some dysfunctions in it, just like there are in any faith, right? Every faith has their issues, including my own. So, you know, please don't get offended by me saying that. It's dealing with her mom being a hoarder and just how uncomfortable it is to live in a hoarder house, how unsafe it is to live in a hoarder house. And so far I am hooked on her writing, and definitely going to keep reading it. I'll probably get through it fairly quickly. I mean, I say that and watch it take me like 3 weeks, but I haven't spent a lot of time reading it, and I'm already 30 pages in. And, like, I want to just sit down and devour it. Like, I just want to sit down and read this for hours and hours, because it's very, like, attention-catching. You know, it's unput-downable, at least for me. Yeah, really excited to see where this goes. So this is the first nonfiction that I'm reading. I don't know what other nonfiction I'll read this week. I have like 5 memoirs on my personal bookshelves that I could pick up and read that I would like to get to. I've got a lot of other kinds of nonfiction on my bookshelves that I could pick up. And then I also really like to listen to nonfiction on audiobook, so I could see what the library has available for Hoopla and Libby. Maybe catch an audiobook of some nonfiction. It is Saturday, November 12th, and I got some Starbucks, and I did some pet sitting. So, birds are so noisy. Hopefully this doesn't just ruin my audio for this video. I have birds that are new. I'll link you to my last vlog where I talk about that. Just a recap of what's going on. Again, if you're new here, I'm having to take on a bunch of side hustles. take on a bunch of side hustles because my father passed and he didn't have a will, and so his estate is going through probate court and it's really expensive. And then also my partner of 10 years and I are separating, so picking up their birds, picking up their portion of the living expenses for once they move out. I do have a full-time job. I work in higher education, but with everything going on, I just need to make a little extra money. So I've been pet sitting and farm sitting and just picking up every little thing I can get. So reading has been a little bit tricky for me to find the time to read because I also live with a chronic health condition, chronic pain. So because I'm working so much, I'm having more pain flares, which means I need to rest. And then I don't always have the mental capacity to read. So that's kind of where we're at today. This morning I went and did some pet sitting chores and I got Starbucks. And y'all, I've decided that, like, even though I'm on a strict budget right now, I'm still going to get Starbucks. I'm still going to get, like, coffee shop coffee. And I consider it my mental health tax. Like, something has to give somewhere for me to keep my mental health intact. Mental health tax. The plan for the rest of the day is to work on grading, get some applications in for some adjunct teaching positions, get some stuff done for this other job I got hired for evaluating standardized tests, and then thank you. And then tonight I am farm sitting, so taking care of the horses on a farm. And then hopefully within that, all of that somewhere, I can read some more of this gem because I'm loving it. It's our first snow of this season and it's like fluffy and pretty and makes me happy and cozy. Here are the criminals that keep yelling. So, okay, I have finally given them names. I didn't have a name for them last week. But I'm kind of in my Frida Kahlo era, if you see this painting here. And I'll talk more about that here in a bit, hopefully before the end of this vlog. But I've decided to name them Frida and Diego. So the green one is Frida, and the blue one is Diego. Because they're just constantly bickering with each other. They're cute. I know I'm going to grow to love them, but we're still adjusting to each other, aren't we, guys? They're very not socialized. I tried to pet them and they bit me. So we have some work to do. Don't we, Diego? That's pretty, though. Pippi, are you chewing on a stick? Pippi. Pippi. No. Pippi. You are so naughty. But so cute. Pippi. Pippi. Oh my gosh. Such a little criminal. Hey, hi, hello. It is Tuesday, November 15th. And I think winter is officially here. Did you hear Pippi? Pippi. Pippi. Whoop. I think she was yelling for me. Did you want to say hi to everybody? Oh, is she going to attack? If you're new here, this is Pippi. She's my kitten. She's about 12 to 13 weeks old at this point. So, she's getting bigger. Oh, and she's so ferocious. I've talked for a long time about how my basic brand on this channel is chaos, but for my own well-being, I need to rein in the chaos a little bit. So I'm trying to work towards a state where that's not my brand. Who knows what the brand will be, but I can't keep being this. So yeah, dog is barking in the background, got laundry going in the background. You might hear the birds in the background, but good news is I think it's officially winter here in Iowa, which is my favorite season. I love it so much. Just that cozy feeling, the warmth of being inside on a cold day, hot drinks, reading a lot. My time has come. Speaking of reading, I do have a reading update. So yesterday I tried to do an audiobook while I was doing farm chores and looking up what it was because I DNF'd it at like middle of the first chapter. I'd like to read some self-help books during Nonfiction November. I know self-help's, like, sometimes it's real junk, but other times it can actually be helpful. So I'd like to get through some before the month is over. And so I tried the book, You Are a Badass, How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life by Jen Sincero. And I DNF'd it like the first chapter because she said that the whole foundation of her work is based on the concept of the law of attraction, which A, is really unoriginal, and B, I don't really believe in. So no more of that book. And then the next book that I had some other like self-help kind of books on my wish list for the library's Libby app for like audiobooks, but a lot of them were checked out. So the next book that I picked up for audio is one that everybody's probably read already because it was like really popular years ago, and that was Wild from Lost to Found on the Pacific. Let me pull up the full title. But you all know the book. It's Wild by Cheryl Strayed, or Strayed, however you say it. So From Lost to Found on the Pacific Crest Trail. It's about a woman who so far loses her mom to cancer and then kind of has an existential crisis and decides to go hike a trail out in the Pacific Northwest. And yeah, like I said, everybody has already read this book but me. I'm always late to the party on these things. But I read about 6% of it after DNFing You Are a Bad A. And so far I like it. I think it's well written. And I can see why people like really connected with this story. And I'm excited to see where it goes. I also am halfway through I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy and really liking this book. She's an excellent writer. And this book is written in a way that it feels very believable. So something that I struggle with memoirs sometimes is trusting the author, basically. Because with a memoir, you're only getting one person's point of view. And is it verified? We don't really know. Is it fact-checked, right? And I think a lot of times publishers do fact-check certain things. But even then, some of this stuff, like with Cheryl's book Wild, her mom is dead, so her mom can't pipe up and be like, no, that's not true. So I'm always taking memoirs with a grain of salt. I have trouble fully believing that everything in them is like the absolute truth, you know. I especially had that feeling when I was reading Educated by Tara Westover. There were some moments when I was reading that where I was like, I mean, that could be true, but I don't know. But with this, I'm not really having those moments. And I think it's in part because she's done such a good job of getting us into her head and her experience rather than trying to illustrate what's in somebody else's head. So we're really just experiencing like her reactions to things and her experience with the different circumstances and how she thought about different things that happened. And it's not like she's trying to like mind read the other people that were there. She's just basically stating what they did. And I think that's something that some memoirists tend to do, is they do that mind reading where it's like somehow they know what that person was thinking when they did XYZ, and she's not doing that. She's really staying within her own experience and not straying outside of that. And I think being someone who has had similar experiences with adult figures with personality disorders who behave much in the same way as her mother did, those situations that she tells us, those moments in her life feel very real and very logical. They feel like things that someone with those disorders would actually do. Now, she hasn't actually said in here yet that her mother has personality disorder, but like, oh my gosh, she does. She's either borderline or narcissist. And her behavior that is being described in this book is very true to how someone with those conditions would behave. So we're just starting to get into her experiences on the show iCarly. And yeah, like I said, I'm about halfway through and I really like this. It's got some tough stuff in it. It really does. But if you can stomach it, like, I think this is worth the read.
The trick to overcoming buyer's remorse is to have a plan. Pick one room and make it yours. Go slowly through the house. Be polite. Introduce yourself so it can introduce itself to you.
Hey, hi, hello. I need to start putting the birds in another room when I try to film. I think I need to do that. Because they are being noisy. The noise, I do believe, is happy noise. But hopefully it doesn't pick up on the camera too bad. Yesterday I finished... I really am trying to rein in the chaos, I promise. Yesterday I finished I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy, and 5 stars. 5 stars. I took it back to the library already, so I don't have the book with me anymore, but wow. Such a good read. And what stood out to me about this book was how authentic it felt, how true it felt, how honest it felt. Having experienced a narcissistic adult in my own life and dealt with my own disordered eating habits, I just really felt like everything that she was saying about those experiences were true and accurate and relatable. And as I've said before, one of the things that always sticks in my craw a bit about memoirs is that we don't really have a way to always verify the truth, the veracity of things, but just in the way that these things were described, they felt real. Like there wasn't ever a moment where I was like, I don't know about that. You know what I mean? Like they all just felt so honest to me. Like that was her honest experience. And wow, kudos to her for putting all of that out there and for sharing her story, because who knows how many people she'll be able to help by sharing that story. And I do really wish her the best. Really hope that she's able to find peace now. Now that she's out of the situations that were so damaging for her. And I think more child actors need to write memoirs, and maybe more have them and I just haven't heard of them. But it's just a whole world of Hollywood that needs to be exposed. Like, we need to stop exploiting children. It's the bottom line. We need to stop exploiting children, because I think her story is probably not the only one out there in which a parent is exploiting their child in the world of acting or entertainment or whatever. So yeah, really, really good book. Check your trigger warnings if you're going to read it, but if you're interested in celebrity memoirs, this is a great one to pick up. I am also about 60% of the way through Wild by Cheryl Strayed. It is Strayed now that I've read the book. And she's explained the story behind her last name. It is Strayed, not Stray Yet or anything like that. Strayed. I'm enjoying this. There was a part in this book that dealt with euthanasia of a horse that did me in. I was listening to that part on my way to the barn to see my own horse, and the horse's name is Lady, and I have a horse named Lady, and it just did me in. I was like crying so hard I had to pull over when I listened to that part. So if you're at all sensitive to like animal euthanasia, be aware that that is something that happens in this story. And it really is just a lot about grief. Like, it's interesting to read this alongside Jeanette's memoir, because they're dealing with some really similar topics, the grief over losing a mother, and the way that both women go about coping and dealing with it are really interesting. It's really interesting to read the two stories together, to be perfectly honest. And Cheryl's story about walking the Pacific Crest Trail is really interesting. It's definitely giving me Into the Wild vibes, though obviously she has a better turnout than Chris McCandless had. But I'm really liking hearing about just that whole like subculture of hiking, and how like even people on the trail, like they have like this common understanding of the difficulties and the harshness of the trail and surviving the trail and the process of hiking, and like that has all been really interesting to read. I am not a hiker. I will go for walks in pretty spaces, but I would not even begin to call myself a hiker. And it's probably not something I will ever try just because I have chronic health conditions and chronic pain. And I don't think I would survive, to be perfectly honest. It would probably kill me. So I'm not one who will ever go hiking. I'm not going to be one who ever does the Pacific Crest Trail. And so it's fun to read about someone who did and what that experience is like. And I mean, I like it. There's not anything that I am particularly disliking about it, you know. Something that I've noted with this one is sometimes in a memoir, the writer will only highlight the ways they've been victimized and not the ways they victimize others. they don't always take ownership of their own toxicity towards the people in their life. But Cheryl Strayed has done that. Like, she's very much taken ownership of, yeah, I did this to someone I love, and it was terrible. And I really appreciate that about this, is she's taking ownership and recognizing not only the way that she's been a victim of others, but the way that she's been a perpetrator of hurt. And I can appreciate that. That's where we're at with that. And then I am trying to fit one more nonfiction in before I wrap up the vlog. So I perused my shelves to try to find one that was kind of short. And I picked up this one. Got this used at Half Price Books. It's called Water Gardens by Peter Stadelman. And it is just about water gardens. I've kind of had a hankering to have like a small little water garden in my space. I don't know if I have a big enough space, and I don't know if I have the bandwidth within my time to be able to effectively manage a water garden. But I do think they're lovely and they're an important part of ecosystems. So we'll read this and see if that's something I could do. But also goldfish can go in water gardens, and y'all know how obsessed I am with goldfish. So yeah. We'll get through this one as well before we wrap up the vlog. I will probably finish Wild tomorrow, and this one won't take me too long to get through either, so I'll see you then. Hello! So, updates for you. I finished Water Gardens by Peter Stadelman. And this is a good book. I mean, this one is not meant to be like super groundbreaking or literary or anything like that. It's purely an informative read. And so 4 stars. I mean, it provided a lot of information on a lot of things regarding water gardens. And I have learned that I definitely do not have space for a water garden in my current situation, which is fine. But I am going to keep a hold of this book and keep it on my bookshelf because it has such beautiful photos. And like, as I was thumbing through this, I just felt such peace looking at these photos. Like, they're just so beautiful. So I think that this will be a good book to pick up, you know, if I find myself, please excuse Frida, if I find myself like a little stressed just to look at the photos and kind of take in the beauty of them, because they really are gorgeous. Oh yeah, lots of good information. It's a pretty short book, so there's probably more they could have said about it, but I feel like it's just a good book for the general average person interested in this kind of gardening. You know, they could have gone into way more sciencey things and whatever, but I don't know. I liked it. There's not really anything I would change about it. So I gave it 4 stars. 4 stars because it was a high quality book, not 5 stars because it wasn't like earth-shatteringly good either, you know? So there's that one. I was at a coffee shop the other day with one of my friends, and someone there was giving out free flowers. Does this not look like the Beauty and the Beast rose? It looks like the Beauty and the Beast rose to me. But it smells heavenly. Okay, and then secondly, I did finish Wild by Cheryl Strayed. 5 stars. 5 stars. She had some lines in that book that I had to like pause and just like drink the line in. You know what I mean? She's a really good writer. Her story was really interesting. I appreciated how she took ownership of the ways that she was a not great person and of the ways that she caused harm to others instead of just painting herself as a victim. I can see why this book was so popular. Absolutely, because it's great. I haven't read anything online about it, so I don't know if there are any controversies or things like that that tend to pop up when something gets as popular as this one is. So if there is something like that, let me know down below, and I'll look into that. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Gave it 5 stars. What are you reading this month for Nonfiction November? Are you participating in Nonfiction November? I know not everybody likes to read nonfiction. I love nonfiction. There are times when it's like, it's exactly what I need to read. And like stuff like this I love. Like I just love learning about things that I'm interested in or in my hobbies. And so let me know down below what you have been reading for Nonfiction November. Have you read either of the memoirs that I read? What'd you think of them? And let's see, if you just want to let me know that you're here, go ahead and leave me some sort of tree emoji to represent the Pacific Crest Trail. And until next time, make sure that you continue to read good books, drink good coffee, take care of yourselves and each other. Bye!